My name is Sombat. I'm 80 years old, and I am going to give you the 3 words right now, before anything else, because that is what honest communication looks like. The 3 powerful words are not a chant. They are not a sequence that improves your odds. They are not words you say to the universe before you buy the ticket that tips some cosmic balance in your direction. The mathematics of a lottery do not respond to words said before the purchase. They do not respond to intention or energy or the particular quality of hope you bring to the moment of buying. They are mathematics, and mathematics is indifferent to everything except mathematics. The 3 words are, what do I want? Not in the sense of wanting to win. Everyone who buys a lottery ticket wants to win. In the deeper sense of, what is the actual inner condition that I am hoping a lottery win would deliver? What specifically do I believe would be different about how I feel, how safe I feel, how free I feel, how sufficient I feel, if the numbers came up right? Because the answer to that question is the real want. And the real want almost never requires a lottery win to be addressed. It almost always requires something else entirely. Something that is available right now in the actual circumstances of your actual life, without any numbers matching on any ticket. Stay with me, because those 3 words, when you actually ask them, and when you actually sit with the honest answer, do something that no lottery ticket has ever done for anyone who has held one. They put you in direct contact with what you are actually looking for. And direct contact with what you are actually looking for is the beginning of the only path that reliably leads there. I was born in northern Thailand in circumstances of genuine material scarcity. The appeal of something that could suddenly change the financial equation was not abstract for me. It was emotionally real. I understand a particular quality of hope that reaches for the lottery. And I also understand, from the inside of 8 decades of honest living, why that hope consistently fails to deliver what it promises, even when the ticket wins. Because what the ticket win delivers is money. And money, while genuinely useful, is almost never the actual thing being looked for. It is almost always the vehicle through which the actual thing was supposed to arrive. And what was supposed to arrive through the money turns out to be something that money alone cannot deliver. This is not a spiritual abstraction. It is one of the most consistently documented findings in the research on lottery winners. Within 1 to 2 years of a major win, the majority of significant winners return to approximately the same level of life satisfaction they had before winning. Not all of them, but enough to tell us something important. The money arrived. The outer circumstances changed dramatically in many cases. But the person who met those new circumstances was still the same person, with the same relationship to their own inner life, with the same unresolved questions about their own worth, with the same underlying sense of whether they are fundamentally okay. And those things, which the lottery was supposed to finally resolve, turned out to not be resolvable by money. What do I want? That is the question. And the honest answer almost always reveals something specific about the inner condition that you are hoping the money would produce. safety, the feeling of finally being enough, the ability to stop worrying, the sense that life is working in a way that feels real rather than managed, the permission to exist without the constant pressure of the gap between what is and what needs to be. Those are the actual wants, and those things have a direct address that does not require lottery winnings. The first thing the question reveals, when answered honestly, is what specific form of insecurity is driving the purchase. Most people who play the lottery regularly are not playing because they have a rational strategy for managing small amounts of entertainment spending. They are playing because something specific in their current relationship with financial security feels insufficient, and the lottery represents the possibility of a sudden end to that insufficiency. When you ask, "What do I want?" and you follow the answer honestly, past the surface response of wanting to win, you almost always find a specific and nameable form of financial anxiety that has a specific and nameable cause, that has specific and available responses that do not require winning anything. And here's what I didn't understand then. For many years, I approached financial anxiety as something to be relieved rather than as something to be understood. I wanted the anxiety to go away without looking too directly at what was producing it. And that preference for relief over understanding kept me from ever genuinely addressing the sources of the anxiety. When I finally began asking the honest version of "What do I want?" and when I followed the answer all the way down to what was actually driving the wanting, I found things I could actually work with. Not comfortable things necessarily, but real things. Things that responded to honest attention and honest action in ways that no lottery result ever could. The second thing the question reveals is the gap between what you are currently creating in terms of value and what you believe you deserve to receive. This is one of the most practically significant revelations available from 3 honest words. Most people who are significantly below the financial life they want are not primarily being withheld from by a hostile marketplace. They are primarily operating from a significant gap between the value they are genuinely capable of creating and the value they are actually claiming. They are undercharging. They are accepting the first offer. They are not asking for what their work is actually worth, because some story about what someone like them can reasonably expect is limiting what they ask for. And the lottery represents the fantasy of closing that gap externally, without having to do the internal work of genuinely claiming what the value they create actually merits. When you ask, "What do I want?" and you follow the answer to the gap it reveals, you sometimes find that the gap is closable, not through winning anything, through the specific and honest work of understanding what you are worth and claiming it more accurately. That work is uncomfortable. It requires challenging beliefs about deserving that are very old and feel very true. But it responds to genuine effort in ways that lottery mathematics does not. The third thing the question reveals is what you are treating as a substitute for the direct path. This is the most important revelation. The lottery is a substitute, a very appealing one, a very understandable one, but a substitute for something that has a more direct path available. And substitutes, by definition, cannot fully deliver what the thing they are substituting for would deliver. When you ask, "What do I want?" and you sit with the honest answer, you sometimes see very clearly what the more direct path would be. The conversation you have been avoiding about your compensation, the price you have been afraid to ask for, the work you have been not doing on the specific skill or the specific relationship or the specific clarity that would actually move your financial situation in the direction you want it to go. Those direct paths are usually harder than the lottery. They require things of you that the lottery does not require. They involve uncertainty of a different kind than lottery uncertainty, because they involve putting your own genuine effort into contact with outcomes that depend partly on that effort. And that dependency, that sense that the result will reflect something about you and your capacity, makes them feel more risky than the lottery in some ways, even though they are reliably more productive. You know what surprised me most when I began practicing the honest version of this question in my own life? How often the thing I was looking for had a genuinely available path that I had been not taking, because the lottery of hoping for external rescue was easier and more comfortable than the work of genuinely engaging with what was required. Not easier to produce results from, easier to spend time in without having to change anything fundamental about how I was operating. What most people don't realize is that saying the 3 words before playing the lottery is not a ritual to improve the odds. It is a practice for interrupting the pattern long enough to see it clearly. The pattern of reaching for external rescue when the more direct path is available and is being avoided. The pattern of treating the lottery as a reasonable response to financial anxiety when the anxiety has a more specific address and a more effective response. The pattern of waiting for something outside to deliver what only something inside can genuinely produce. 3 words. What do I want? Said before the purchase, before the hope, before the reach for the external thing. Said with genuine intention to sit with the honest answer. Said as a practice of interrupting the automatic reaching long enough to ask whether this is actually the path to what you are looking for, or whether there is a more direct path that you are avoiding because it requires something more of you than buying a ticket does. At 80 years old, the financial peace I have is not the product of any winning ticket. It is the product of many years of asking, "What do I want?" and following the answer honestly enough to engage with the actual sources of financial anxiety and the actual paths toward the financial life I genuinely wanted. That work was not always comfortable. It was not always fast. It was not always certain in its direction. But it produced something that no lottery outcome could have produced, a relationship with my own financial life that does not depend on external rescue, because it is built on genuine understanding of what I can create and honest claiming of what that creation is worth. That is what the 3 words before the lottery can begin. Not the improvement of your aunts, the interruption of a pattern that is consuming hope, that could be going towards something that actually leads where you want to go. Tell me in the comments what you discover when you ask, "What do I want?" and follow the answer honestly. Not the surface want, the actual one, the specific inner condition that you are hoping the money would deliver. And if this message gave you something honest to sit with, stay close to this space, because the practice of asking, "What do I want?" before reaching for external rescue is one that deepens the more you return to it, and every honest return brings you closer to the genuine path toward what you were actually looking for.